Right, hello guys, watching the Geek 7, and today we're talking about 73 Yards. First time watched it. Here's my instant reaction and review. I'm just confused, actually mind boggled. Doctor Who has confused me in the past, but it took a few rewatches and you know the answer. I don't think a rewatch is going to help me to understand this as much. So here we go. I loved the energy with Ncuti and Ruby at the beginning. At the end of the episode, I thought it was really cool. And the different parallels of what happened in the episode, with Ncuti being sad he stepped on it, to what kind of didn't happen and got retconned the episode did by the end, where him didn't stand on the thing. And then they go off an adventure in Wales that we don't get to see, which sucks. You know, they went to Wales, they're all happy days, and we didn't get to see the happy days ending. You know, we didn't get to see another adventure. I feel like they should have done a mini-sode or something just to make up for the fact they went to Wales and had a good time, whereas we saw they went to Wales and had a terrible time. But anyway, that being said, the Doctor goes different. He steps on a thing, the Doctor's gone. Where's he gone? Ruby has seen this woman from the distance, 73 yards exactly, and I love that Russell just went to Wales and actually calculated 73 yards to make this episode work, which is mental. Brilliant, the dedication of that man. But anyway, so the distance there, 73 yards, woman always standing behind Ruby or in front of Ruby, but always 73 yards away from Ruby for 65 years. This goes on for, I think that was the calculation the day they said. But anyway, basically, Ruby decides to go to the pub, and the characters in the pub are quite fun, to be fair. I kind of like them, I'm not gonna lie. But there's a woman before that. A woman that keeps appearing in every bloody episode of Doctor Who at the moment. And yet again, clocked her. She was just doing a little run, and then goes to see Ruby, and then goes to the woman, and then speaks to the woman, and just runs off. I'm like, oh, okay, that's weird. Then we go to the pub. Some guy from the pub goes to speak to the woman because she's following Ruby, and Ruby's uncomfortable by it. So the guy in the pub's going to deal with it. He talks to her. He runs off, and then we go again. We speak to her Ruby's foster mom. She goes, speaks to the woman, and runs off, and then we get another woman. Or a man, I can't remember. Someone else runs off, and then we go to Unit. They run off from the woman, and the Prime Minister runs off from the woman. And then that constant thing of, what is this woman saying? What could have been causing this? That being said, we're going back to the pub scene. People in the pub, she stays a few nights. It's a bed and breakfast pub, I guess you could say. And the joke with the phone, being able to use money. Fun fact, I only just started doing that this year. I don't know how new it is, but I'm like, I just prefer, it's took me a while to I always like cash, I'm very back in the times, and then eventually started using my card a couple years ago, and now I'm just like, yes, I use my phone. Turn it off when I don't need it, just in case someone steals my phone. But I always use my phone now to pay stuff, and it's just like, yeah, that's a thing we do as youngsters, I guess, which is it's took me a while to get with the times. I just found a gimmick. But the people in Wales are like, what do you think we are? We're from the Dark Ages. I was like, well, I pretty much am. But anyway, that being said, the people in the pub were just fun. And then once they banish Ruby from the pub because the woman's disturbing them and stuff, Ruby goes off. She goes to say goodbye to the TARDIS. She's been waiting a while. The Doctor's not gone. The Doctor's gone. She doesn't know where he is. She's leaving the TARDIS. She's said her goodbyes and she goes home. And we're on the train and we just see the woman jumping from street to areas to different things. That 73 yards woman just keep following Ruby. And then eventually, always doing like a sign language thing as well, the woman is. But anyway, when Ruby goes home, the foster scenario. Literally, the foster mom talking about the Doctor, like, oh, there's probably Tinker in the box, and, the TARDIS got landed in their house, and they never really in like the explanation of the TARDIS landing there and the Doctor's conflict of why did you take Ruby? Why Ruby? And how can we let Ruby travel with you? Scenario that they should have with the parents always speaking to the Doctor and warning them, don't you dare risk her life, don't do this, don't do that. And the Doctor never does that. He never deals with the conflict of that, which is interesting. Like, why? How? We don't get any explanation, so it feels like we've missed something in this episode, which sucks, because it's like, where's the explanation of them accepting the Ruby to travel with the Doctor? We didn't get any of that, which sucks. And I do feel like we miss it from this, and it does feel like, have I missed an episode? No, I haven't. It's just why the show has just skipped that whole thing. I don't know. I hope they do a flashback or something to it later on in the episode. They surely got to, because otherwise it's just like, why? That being said, Ruby mom decides to help Ruby, goes to speak to the woman, and then Ruby's foster mom just legs it, the real mom, legs it as soon as she speaks to that woman, and then changes the locks in the house and stuff. And it's like, whoa, that's crazy. Ruby's now having to live on her own, having a job, to defend for herself all on her own with no stability. And it's been a year. They did a time jump of a year. And then we see Ruby talking to UNIT. Kate Stewart's there. And you're like, oh my God, Kate. And then Kate's listening to the comms of the soldiers. And that woman speaks to the soldiers and literally takes out the UNIT soldiers. And they sort of freeze up. And Kate hears on the comms what that woman says and decides to disengage and leave Ruby on her own. Ruby is now left on her own, and we got so many references to UNIT helping companions and doctory stuff, and it was so lovely to have Kate in this. But technically, when this episode gets reversed, Ruby hasn't met Kate yet, so she still won't have that interaction. This whole thing doesn't exist, basically, which is like, huh? But anyway, it's a cool moment, even if it does get retconned at the end and Ruby never meets Kate. But anyway, that whole thing, UNIT leave Ruby. Ruby is now officially on her own again. And then she remembers what the Doctor said about the Prime Minister. And this guy, this Welsh Prime Minister taking over and doing nuclear weapons, which doesn't feel like a kid's episode. I'm just saying. This feels like a grown-up episode for adults, to be honest. I can't see a kid really enjoying this one. But I really enjoyed it as obviously an adult, appreciate it a lot more. And I think it was very cool what they're doing with the representation of a Prime Minister and how he would speak in interviews, but actually behind the scenes he'd probably be doing this, and that he's a very dangerous man. Which Ruby then decides and remembers the Doctor saying he's one of the worst Prime Ministers, don't make it happen stuff. But I guess it does actually happen now. Ruby's whole episode gets retconned. But anyway, she decides to land that woman perfectly within the Prime Minister and her standing 73 yards away to try and get that woman to speak to the Prime Minister to make him run away in public and make him lose his Prime Minister job so he doesn't cause any chaos in the future. Which is a really cool thing because the Doctor warned Ruby, he's one of the worst Prime Ministers, don't do that. Anyway, that being said, 40. She's now 40, she's 30, she's 35, she's going on dates, she's constantly, who's this woman, blah, blah, blah. She's messing up her whole life. And she's 30, 40, and I think we jumped to like her being 80 or 90 at one point, and literally going to the box and saying goodbye, and then eventually like a care home scenario, I think she's like 90 or 100 or something like that, and she's in a bed, and then this woman's like creeping up in her nightmares, and the 73 yards woman turns out to be Ruby, is what I'm getting from this. It turns out to be... That's so confusing for me. And then it jumps to the beginning of the episode again, where the Doctor doesn't step on the thing, and then they go on a whale's adventure. I'm so confused. So there was what caused this thing to happen? What actually caused... Just the Doctor standing on this piece of string that's meant to be magical? Is that the whole thing? Is that the answer? Because I'm just confused. Everything that happened in this episode doesn't happen by the end. They have a good whale's adventure instead of this chaos we've just talked about. I'm going to give this episode a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it for what it's worth. I think it's better than average, but it's just confused the hell out of me. And yeah, I would watch again in a rewatchability of watching the whole series, but I don't think I'd pick this out especially. But that's my thoughts and opinions, guys. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. Explain it to me. And I hope you guys enjoyed this ranty review, I guess. we'll talk about Doctor Who next week, so stay tuned for that. And subscribe for more Doctor Who content. Of course, we do Marvel, DC, Doctor Who, Rick and Morty. You know, it really place to be for a geek like me, so join me and subscribe. See you guys next time.